Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Prescribing Lifestyle Podcast. Today, I have a special guest all the way from America, Jenn Trepeck. She is a health coach, podcaster, and a consultant. So she is very kindly to come on my podcast, Prescribing Lifestyle. It might be very late for her at night. So welcome to the podcast, Jen.
Thank you so much, Dr. Avi, for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Thank you. You're a health coach, podcaster, and consultant, and you're really interested in nutrition, in the wellness space. How did you get into here? I'll get you to introduce yourself.
Sure. It's funny. My background is business and marketing. And like so many people in the wellness space, I came to all of it through my own saga of, trying to figure out my health and mostly my weight. And I think, I was a dancer growing up. And I joke that I was like the skinny one in a family of dieters because somebody in my family was always on a diet. And, I never really had to think about things. I mean, we ate vegetables and a variety of things. And, I was fine in air quotes, right? More or less growing up. And then between high school and college, I started to gain weight. And I was like, okay, well, I know what to do because I've watched everybody around me do this. I saw every fad diet under the sun of every year or decade or, as the trends go. And so I did diet after diet, lived on that roller coaster, gaining and losing, my mood being based on the scale, all the things. I remember at one point feeling like I would just breathe and gain weight. And I was like, this doesn't make sense,
Mm.
right? How is this possible?
Yeah.
And worlds then collided for me. So I graduated from college, moved to New York City. And shortly after that, life was great, but I was also like, I don't know what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. I just know that I don't want to work for somebody else for the rest of my life. And so I was
Mm.
looking for things to do outside of my full-time job to either start my own business or make extra money to invest and then be able to work for myself. But I was looking. And those two worlds collided when I learned about the curriculum or lifestyle approach, really, that I based my entire practice on. And
Mm.
at first, when I heard about it, I was like, no, 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 that's okay. I've got my thing, right? I had done every diet out there. My thing was that roller coaster, but that's what it was,
Mhm.
right? And then I saw people who were following this other approach. And there's one woman who is telling her story, and I have no idea what her name is. I don't know anything about her except this story. And she was essentially telling the story of removing 150 pounds and keeping it off.
Mm.
And I was staring at her. Not literally anything she said after that, I didn't hear because I was staring at her, having a conversation with myself in my own head that was like, Jennifer, not even Jen, right? This was a moment. It was like, Jennifer, they know something you don't know. Because with everything you know, that doesn't make sense.
Mm.
And I mean, this woman is saying literally the equivalent of another human was attached to her.
Mhm.
And I couldn't see where like 10 pounds could have been on this woman's body. You know what I mean? It was like, this did not compute. So I
Mhm.
worked with a coach, followed the program. It completely changed my life. Like the only thing that allowed me to say I'd kick my food issues.
Mm.
And then it got me thinking, like, why doesn't everyone know this? And why isn't this what we learned
Mhm.
about health or nutrition or biology or any of those things? And then I was like, well, how did all of those things come to be that we did learn, right? Where did all of that stuff come from? And I just felt so impassioned that everybody deserved this information
Mhm.
that I was like, okay, this is my thing. This is what I'm going to do outside of my full-time job and eventually work for myself. So I built my health coaching practice on the side of my full-time job for 12 years. So 2007 to So I took a couple years after, graduating from college, living in New York, looking for things. So then ultimately found all of this. It was like late 2007. Um, didn't leave my job till July of 2019.
Hmm.
So 12 years of working with clients on the side, nights and weekends, working full time. I was a photo shoot producer and then I worked in hedge funds. So I know what it's like to also try to figure this out, eating 3 meals a day.
Hmm.
And fast forward, so left my job July of 2019, launched the podcast Salad with a Side of Fries in
Hmm.
August of 2019. And now here we are. It's about 6 years later, and I get to sit with you.
Yeah, how amazing is that?
Yeah.
That's an amazing journey. You're a very hardworking full-time job as well as coaching lots of
Yeah.
people.
Yeah. And it went in waves, right? As any sort of side hustle does, right? There are times where it's busier and times where it's less busy, but yeah,
Yeah, so over the
it's
years, you
good.
must have learned a lot through people's stories and connecting with people. Tell us,
Absolutely.
yeah. So what do you coach on? How do you work with coaching people?
Yeah, so I
What have
work
you
with
found that
people.
works?
Yeah, so I work with people for 12 weeks.
Hmm.
And I really believe that if you need me in order to know what your plan is for the week, I have done you a gross disservice. So, my objective is not for you to need me every week for the rest of your life, right? But
Yeah.
for us to work together to understand this education, which I'll talk more about in a second. And then you build the tool belt so that you can go live the rest of your life and be happy and well and energetic and enjoy all the things, right? And focus on the stuff that really matters.
Yes.
And, right? So fundamentally, there's sort of breaks down into four pieces. So the first piece of what we talk about is low glycemic impact nutrition.
Hmm.
Really, what we know from all of the research is that whether we are burning fat or storing fat is a function of blood sugar.
Mm, yes.
If we want to be metabolically well, cardiovascularly well, frankly, well in any and every way,
Hmm.
we really need to understand metabolic health and blood sugar balance. So we talk about really how to eat. I often say it's not what to eat, it's how to eat so
Yes.
that we can keep our blood sugar stable. And what happens is that then we're not adding to those fat stores, and our body over time will release the fat stores that it's been holding on to that it no longer needs.
Yes,
So the
absolutely.
first
Yes.
piece is low glycemic impact nutrition. Yeah.
Okay. Yep, I love it.
The second piece is body composition
Hmm.
because we really don't want to lose weight. We want to remove fat.
Mm, yes.
And that total number on the scale and even BMI as a metric are really doing us a disservice. You know, I come from the place that health is our objective.
Yep.
And if that's the case, then we need a lot more information than the total number on the scale or BMI. And so at that, we focus on removing fat, measuring body composition and our body fat percentage to make sure that we're building and supporting lean muscle mass, improving our metabolism, and removing the fat stores that are really not serving our health. So the
Yeah.
third piece, yeah, go ahead.
Absolutely. I absolutely love it. Yes. The
Yeah.
scale doesn't really work and we're building muscle. Quite often the scale doesn't move. So I love this message and totally in tune what I teach as well.
Oh, awesome. The third piece is behavior modification.
Mm.
And that's really just a fancy way of thinking about how do we make this a lifestyle?
Hmm.
It's not about the rules. It's not about eat this, not that, or on, off, good, bad, all the things that we have done over and over and over and over. Right?
Yes.
It's really about understanding all of the elements of health besides just food and movement, sleep, stress, energy, food sensitivities, all of the things that play into this and make this not quite so simple. Real life and how to design our lives for health, how to design our health plan for our lives. Because a lot of times we try to sort of, square peg, round hole, or whatever the phrase is, where, we think that we have to become different people or uproot the apple cart. And
Mm.
really, it's small steps in the same direction over time.
Yeah, I love it. We need to make this a lifestyle, not just a short 8-week body transformation challenge. It's not a short-term thing. It's a fad diet can be
Exactly.
just for 4 weeks and then you change your life and then you can go back to what you were doing before. But what you were doing before wasn't serving you. So you've got to create a new you. I love what you're saying.
Exactly. And that pattern of gaining and losing off and on, each time we do that, we actually, I'm choosing my words carefully, but we actually hinder
Hmm.
our metabolic health and overall health every time we go through that process. And
Yeah,
that's one of those things that I really wish I knew before trying every diet out there and just thinking that that's what the answer was, because that was all that was available at the time, you
yeah,
know?
yeah.
And then the fourth piece of what we do is strategic supplementation.
Hmm.
So there are tools, nutraceuticals as opposed to pharmaceuticals, that we can use to help rehab the metabolism, to help fill in the gaps where our nutrition falls short. And no, we cannot supplement our way out of poor nutrition or out of poor lifestyle choices, but they can be really helpful, especially in moving that needle, especially if we have that history of trying everything out there like I did. These can become really helpful. So, sometimes it's very personalized, because what you might need is different than what I might need, right?
Absolutely.
So we really personalize that with everybody and look at where can we help support and rehab so that we are functioning well and addressing a lot of the pieces that can contribute to that weight loss resistance as well.
Hmm. Great. I love it.
Yeah.
Awesome. So you teach people how to work on these four things and then you've had great results?
Absolutely. I mean, you know, over the years, there's been, countless people, but one of my favorite stories. So I just actually got off a call with coaching clients before we started recording.
Okay.
And one woman, so she's a teacher, and she has done what we've all done, right? Over the years, tried different things. And this time, well, but every time before, she was really always going it alone.
Yeah.
And this time, she plugged into our group coaching and our community. And she made small tweaks
Hmm.
that each time didn't seem so dramatic, didn't seem so wild. And now, so she's a teacher. So she was off for the summer. She went back to school this fall,
Hmm.
and they had Spirit Day at school. So you're supposed to wear, gear, clothes, for the school. She pulled out an old t-shirt that she hasn't been able to wear in like 4 years.
Wow. Yeah.
And she pulled out this shirt and she put it on. She felt like $1 million. She had to take her pants in because they were an inch plus too big, and she walked into school. She was just telling us this story of walking in feeling so confident and so energetic. The kids and the other faculty, everybody was sort of like, something's different, and it was
Yeah.
just, it's amazing because it's the little things. She also
Yes.
talks about, she works in a school with young kids and being able to bend down and tie their shoes and get up and not make noises and not, have pain as she's doing it, or, all of those kinds of things that are really the quality of life stuff
Yes.
that make the difference. Everybody, I think, wants to focus on the scale or the before and after pictures. And that's honestly one of my biggest pet peeves, because
Yes.
the true transformation, the real health, is not what we can see. It's what happens in the connection and what we do. She was also sharing a story um, when the weather, was still warm and she had kids over and her family over in the neighborhood and she was doing dance parties with all the little kids and playing all these games. And it's making memories, that
Yes.
she's able to do because she doesn't have the pain in her knees, because she's able to, get up and run around, because um, her cardiovascular health is improving. And all of these pieces are really transforming her life in the best way.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. That's great. I have quite a few of these stories as well. It
Yeah,
makes my job so rewarding hearing all these stories of how people just lose the weight and they get stronger, they can walk further. I think the inflammation gets reduced when they lost a bit of weight and improve their ways of eating. Must be
absolutely.
making you feel rewarded that you're helping these people, transforming their lives.
Yeah, it's funny. So I that just made me think of another client. She's younger. She's in her early 20s.
Hmm.
Um but was diagnosed with juvenile rheumatoid arthritis.
Mm.
And we were same 12 weeks, same curriculum, right? Completely different age demographic. But speaking of the inflammation, her doctor put her in remission because between some strategic supplementation and some quality nutrition choices and moving more, she really reclaimed the whole rest of her life. And inflammation, by the way, is one of those pieces that really can stand in our way when we think about or feel, weight loss resistance, when we feel like we're doing everything and we can't understand what's going on. A lot of times, one of those underlying factors is systemic inflammation. And
Yeah.
so, you know, addressing that in a variety of ways, now all of a sudden, we can move the needle.
Yeah, absolutely. I think inflammation is one of the root causes of all the
Yes.
chronic conditions that we're facing nowadays with obesity, aches and pains, back pain, and even autoimmune conditions, mental health conditions, maybe all caused by inflammation,
Yes.
even cancer and Alzheimer's disease. So nobody wants all these illnesses.
Exactly. Exactly. It's interesting. I mean, in the US, and so in the supplementation space that I'm in, we cannot and do not diagnose, treat, cure, prevent any disease.
Hmm.
And it's interesting because in the US, they have now called inflammation a disease state in and of itself.
All right. Okay.
So I know, isn't that interesting? But, on the one hand, we have to be really careful about what we say. But on the other hand, it's exactly your point of how important understanding inflammation is to all of the other things that we experience.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think inflammation is a disease state. It's a
In the
process.
US, they're qualifying it as a disease state so that we can't talk about it in relation to supplementation.
All right.
Yeah.
Very tricky.
Wild.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. But I love your work. I love how you spread the message of optimizing nutrition and strength training and movement and stress management. So tell us what you do in yourself. How do you manage your own lifestyle?
Yeah. Great question. I love this. So it's funny, since leaving my full-time job and working for myself, one of the things that I really enjoy is not jumping out of bed in the morning, not
Mm,
feeling like somebody else is dictating the time of my alarm clock. So one of the things I do is I ease into my day.
mhm,
First thing, occasionally I will take a meeting or work with one of my coaches early in the morning, but otherwise the first appointment of my day is 9 a.m.
mhm,
It is my workout. And then from there, I go into my day. Um, I always start with my morning vitamin concoction, which is a
Okay.
custom cocktail
Mhm.
of a drinkable, high quality multivitamin that's essentially like the closest thing to IV nutrition that you can get orally.
Hmm.
And so I start with that. And then depending on some days, I'll do a little bit of a pre-workout snack. So sometimes that's,
Hmm.
2 dates. Sometimes I'm doing a shake that has protein and fiber.
Hmm.
And then after my workout, I use a shake that is branched chain amino acids, whey protein, and creatine.
Okay, great.
And then I ease into my day. I'm a everything, if anybody has listened to my podcast, Salad with a Side of Fries, or if you do, one of the things I say all the time is protein and fiber at every meal makes removing fat no big deal.
Okay.
So, every time I eat, it's protein, vegetables, filling in the gaps, figuring out maybe, I'll use grains and starches more like a condiment.
Hmm.
So that's a big thing. So between the pre-workout and the post-workout, that tends to be, my morning fuel.
Yeah.
And then lunch, I will admit, I do not often have groceries.
Hmm.
So for anybody out there who doesn't like to cook, doesn't want to cook, or shouldn't cook, I got you. you know. Um, so, sometimes I have my go-to places to order lunch or dinner, or sometimes, I like to take lunch meetings as well, meet people for lunch. And, I also tend to work with my clients in the evenings because, nights and weekends is when we want to focus on our personal things. So,
Yes.
um, a lot of times I'm meeting with clients at night. So it's like everybody, finding those moments to fit in our meals. And then I have sort of my evening routine with, skincare, relaxation. I use a jade roller on my face, a little bit of gua sha, right? So
Mhm.
having those things, I will also admit, not as often as I would like, but I do love a cold plunge.
Oh,
So
lovely.
fitting that in or ending my showers with a cold rinse. So, and like everybody, we're all just figuring it out every day. And some
Yes.
days are easier than others. And some days all the things happen. And some days, it's only some of the things. Um, I meditate. I have a gratitude journal before I go to bed. So,
Yeah.
really focusing on hitting at least something in all of our longevity categories every day.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, I love it. I do the same. I do a meditation breath work first thing in the morning, and I have a gratitude journal lasting at night before my bedside table to just think of what's been good happening during the day. And then it's a bit hard because we're in winter, so cold plunges is a little bit difficult. I've done two or three over the last season just because it's so cold in Melbourne, Australia here. But
Yeah,
during summer, I do it two or three times a week, cold plunges after a run or a exercise. Yeah, so I'm
love that.
totally t in tune together with you. Very much the same.
Yeah, it's awesome. I love it.
Yeah, great. So what about your podcast? Sell it with the a side of fries. Tell us about your
Yes. So
podcast.
so we call it wellness without the weirdness, right?
Hmm.
It's,
Yeah.
a lot of these same principles. We talk about everything um, in wellness. So yes, it's nutrition and lifestyle, sleep, stress, energy. We'll do deep dives with different parts of the body and different experts. So half of the episodes are what I call sort of my content, things I talk about with my clients. And on those, I have somebody join me so that it's not just me talking endlessly
Mhm.
and it's still a
Yes.
dialogue.
Yeah.
And then the other half of the full length episodes are interviews. So interviewing other experts. I know a lot, I don't know everything. And I love learning. So we get to learn together on those episodes as well. And then each week I publish a bite sized bonus episode that we call Nutrition Nuggets. And
Okay.
those are typically, you know, under 15 minutes, a dive into maybe it's a specific food. Sometimes a lot of people send me different food products to take a look at. We'll talk about different approaches to fitness or different mindset things. So
Mm.
those are, bite-sized bonus episodes to, just up the ante a little bit, give us a little bit more to think about and look at some specific food products that are out there. Because interestingly enough, and I think we maybe have this more in the US than you do in Australia, but all of these companies popping up with foods that claim to be the magic thing for whatever the latest health trend is. you
Yes,
know.
absolutely.
But yeah, but fundamentally salad with a side of fries is about lifestyle and balance, right? We can have our health and enjoy our lives too.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I love it because my prescribing lifestyle podcast is also about me learning about all sorts of lifestyle things from my speakers and guests, as well as sharing the message of how my listeners can be empowered on just learning to improve nutrition, improve health, and create vibrant health. I love your message.
Well, thank you. I love what you're doing. It's so needed and different voices in the space because everybody I think, needs to hear things different ways, different times from different people and even if it's the same message, it's just so helpful to reinforce. So, thank you.
Yeah, yeah, we're all very similar in broadcasting very similar message. Great. I see one of your other topic is health and nutrition for kids and teens. I've got a couple of teenagers. How do parents work with teens when they're so addicted to processed foods and carbs? What's your tips for teens
Yes.
and kids?
Yeah, so um I have a curriculum for teens and kids and families, right? Because like you said, there's the coach because, sometimes just like our parents as they're aging, they don't want to hear everything from us. Our kids don't want to hear everything from us. And so, having that outside voice is really helpful. One of the big things that I like to remind everybody is they're learning from everything, everywhere, all the time. And it's so much more than what we say. They are noticing what we do for ourselves. So, number one, the greatest thing we can do for the health of our kids is what we do for our own health and talking about it in that context that this is a healthful choice. This is an energizing choice. This makes me feel my best when I eat this versus I can't have that. I'm on a diet or I'm only eating these things or whatever it is. When we work with kids, one of my favorite things to teach families is what we call fridge first.
Hmm.
So, food is found in the fridge. Anytime we are hungry, we are going to the fridge first.
Love
So,
it.
what that does is push us toward the whole foods, the real foods, and minimize, we can fill in from the pantry, we can add to it from the pantry, but really thinking about, fridge first. And certainly getting active, right? For a lot of our kids and spending time together. And, when I was a kid, we would ride bikes to somebody else's house. We
Yeah.
would, go out and I wasn't necessarily an athlete. I was a dancer, but I didn't
Mhm.
play, sports or those kinds of things. But even with friends, like we might go outside for a bit. And so bringing some of that back, fresh air, movement, helping everybody with that blood flow and oxygen and concentration. And I think, especially with our kids, one of the biggest things, as with us, is how we
Mhm.
start the day.
Mm.
So, really starting with what are we having before we go to school? I see it all the time here. Kids are starting the day with a bagel or a muffin or, a protein bar that's really a candy bar in disguise with a better name. And then they're struggling with concentration.
Mm.
They're struggling to, pay attention to what's going on or sit still for as long as they need to. And while there are things about, education that I think could be adjusted in that, I think it's also helping us set them up to feel confident and feel empowered when they're in that environment, because the internalized message becomes there's something wrong with them. And I
Yes.
don't think there is. I think it's that, you know, I sort of joke that for a lot of us as adults, with all the weight loss stuff that we've been told, it's like climbing Mount Everest naked and barefoot, and everybody around us is going, climb. What's wrong with you? Why aren't you climbing? And I think that that's what we've done with a lot of our kids
Mhm.
with all the processed food, and then
Yes.
going, why are you struggling in school? Why can't you sit still? Why can't you concentrate? And,
Yes.
so helping them help themselves and feel like the best version of themselves.
Yeah, I think it makes such a big difference if you have a whole food protein breakfast as opposed to
Yeah.
cereal and sugar bar, and they're just not fueling the brain properly. I've had a patient who has ADHD, and he started low carb for a first time over the last month, and he felt like his ADHD is going just by eating whole food, protein, less carbohydrates. He felt so much better.
That's awesome. Yeah, back to blood sugar, right?
That's
Our
right.
attention goes with the blood sugar. So I love it. It's awesome. And I think, even taking a step back, when we start with kids and teens,
Hmm.
we're not even, and we talk about goals, we're not even talking about the weight goal or
Mm,
the health goal. We're talking about, like, what do you want to do in this world? How do you want to operate? Who do you want to be?
hmm.
Right? How do we want to show up? What would we do if we knew we couldn't fail? What would you want to do? What would you want to attempt? If failure wasn't even a thing. And so, starting from that place and helping them also connect these daily choices to the bigger pieces is really fundamental to how we set young people up for health for a lifetime
Hmm.
and to really own their health. Because, and again, things are a little bit different in our countries in terms of healthcare for sure.
Mm,
But one thing across the board, no matter where you live, health is a function of the seemingly small things that we do every single day. And that's where setting them up to understand what those choices are and to build that lifestyle from an early age is potentially the greatest gift.
yeah, yeah. I think it's all comes down to the choices we make every single day. Each what food do we choose, whether we choose to go outside and move our body, or whether we just want to scroll on the phone or eat cereal and sugar. It's all depends on that.
Exactly. And there is a place for sitting on the couch and scrolling on the phone and enjoying
Yes.
that sugary cereal, right? It's all about, how those things fit together.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I love it.
Yeah.
Where can our listeners find you, Jen?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you, Dr. Avi, for having me. All social media, I'm at Jenn Trepeck, JennTrepeck. Website is asaladwithasideoffries.com. My podcast, wherever you're listening now, you can find it. It's called Salad with a Side of Fries. And please come hang out. I love hearing from you. So send a message. All the things I talked about today are totally available to you in Australia and everywhere around the world. So looking forward to connecting and helping everybody, you know, keep going, plug along, keep learning, and reclaim their health.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll put all the links on this on the show notes. And you accept coaching clients and group coaching and individual coaching. Is that what you do?
Exactly. Yes, it's group or one-on-one. And it's a set cohort when it's group. So it's a set group of people for 12 weeks. We become a little bit of a family there. Yeah.
Great.
So
And all the
yeah.
information's on your website?
It is. So because part of that coaching is so personalized,
Hmm.
if there's some general information there. And then if it's interesting, on my contact page, you can book a 15-minute appointment and we can connect and figure out your best next step between all the different things that I offer.
No problem. Sounds awesome. Well, thank you for the offer, Jen.
Thank you, Dr. Avi. It's been a pleasure. So nice to meet you and connect.
You too, Jen. Thank you for coming on. So
Thank you.
thank you, Jen. For all the listeners, thanks for staying tuned to another episode of Prescribing Lifestyle Podcast. So until next time, I urge you to look after yourself. If you don't look after yourself, you can't look after anybody else. And next time, I'll bring to you another amazing and interesting guest.